Alright, we're going to write this bash script pretty quickly. We're going to try to get through this, and let's set a time limit of like 30 minutes for this. So it's 9:08. So by 9:38, I want this done, and then take a break. Alright, what text editor do they have on here? I might as well just try to use this text info. I don't even know what that is. It's cool just trying all these things. Alright, I'm going to write this here, and I'll probably just, once I get things set up, I'll start using Vim probably. And Vim's probably already installed here. It's not. Interesting. How about VI? Okay. Let's also... Okay, the first thing I do, bash check for root. This script needs to run as root. So I just Google this and copy this code. And I declare this is a bash script. So basically, if you're not root, it doesn't work. So you need to use sudo or root user. Okay. Let's do apt-get update, apt-get upgrade -y, apt-get install ssh tmux vim curl htop build essentials. I'm basically going to install a bunch of tools that I need to do a bunch of stuff. 3 VNV, I believe it's called. Python 3 dev. What else? Pretty sure wget, git. These are like all the packages. That I would expect to be on a Linux machine when I hook it up. Alright, let's start with that, see if that works. So I just start running this. So let's copy this into, sure, our desktop and just call bootstrap.sh. And let's go to the terminal here. And it's good that I forgot that the cooler, I keep forgetting the cooler's on the screen, so I gotta be careful not to put like stuff in this corner like code. And I can make this bigger now too, I think. Does this view, how do I make this bigger? Maybe I don't. Yeah, I want 4 spaces here too. This you should change too. Always use spaces and always use 4. Okay, this only has sh. That's fine. It doesn't. It's annoying that it doesn't support Control-Shift+, and like that's how you make stuff bigger in browsers. Like everything should support shortcut keys across each one. And it's a little annoying that this one doesn't. I guess this is under preferences, probably fonts here. Okay. Should be easier to see, hopefully. Okay, let's see if how this script runs. I can also make this a little bit bigger. Watch this. See, this supports this. Control Shift minus. Actually, it's Control minus for small, or just, yeah, Control minus, and then it's Control Shift plus to make it bigger. Where did I put this file? Desktop. So you want to do change mod plus X the file name, and we're going to run that. Okay, it did not like Python 3-VNV. Interesting. Then there's just the build essentials. Oh. No, that's fine. Build essential, I think. No, it still can't find that. Interesting. I don't think that's the problem, because I think it's... Build essential. Interesting. Not sure why it does not like this. If I delete that, does it work? So it's just trial and error. Yeah, see, it says it doesn't like dev. Well, maybe because I had this twice. Maybe that's why. Python 3. And this should be minus y. I forgot that. Maybe that's why it's complaining. There it goes. Okay, the other thing I always do when I write a script, just run it again and make sure it works every time. You should have scripts that don't break. And if you start to get into trouble, there's two tips I have. You can do set minus EX here. And then when you run it, it will spit out a bunch of debugging stuff. So this is the actual command it's running. And if the command fails, it will exit immediately. So if I do like, what's a command that'll fail right away? Systemctl ssh stop. SSD stop. How do I always forget how to use this. Let's see this real quick. Oh, yeah, I always screw up the syntax. It's stop SSD. So this actually prompts you. So let's see. So that says access denied. Let's try to put this in the script, and I bet you we're going to put this right here, and this time we're not going to run it with sudo. So I'm just going to call bootstrap, and it should fail right away. It tries to prompt you. If you click cancel, it'll exit right away. So that's what's that's what the set X does. I'm sorry, the set E does. So if I change this, it does the same behavior. Yep. So set E minus E will stop on every error. So that really helps you. So if you need it to skip errors, you can just delete that right away, and it'll skip errors. and it still will exit here. It says, see, at least kept running, but I didn't run this as root, so I'm not gonna do this. But then EX will print every command that's running. So you'll see this is what it tried to do, and this is what failed. So that's what X minus X is. It's so useful with debugging. So if you ever have any problems with debugging bash scripts, those are two tips that I use all the time. Alright, let's get rid of this because this is just a silly example. And now we have all these tools. And in fact, I'm going to stop using this and just use Vim and tmux here. Okay, so I usually load tmux and split the screen here. And I load this in Vim and zoom into this. So the next thing I want to do is install Docker. So let's see how this installation goes on this Pop! OS version. I'm guessing. See, that's the other problem. I got to put all these in here and just rerun this. I need to also do this. So if you go to my github.com, this is my GitHub page, and repositories, .files. Actually, this is under YouTube. I always forget this. It's YouTube, Vim, vimrc here. I don't really use all this much anymore. I used to use this all the time. So this block right here, I need this block. So I do vi vim .vimrc, and then I add this. Whoops. So you can do set paste, and then insert, and then paste it, and then write it out. And then when you go back here and you do insert tab, it'll be 4 spaces. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, you want 4 spaces. You don't want to use tabs. You don't want to use anything else. Some stuff you'll see indented with 2 spaces. In my opinion, that's a little bit harder to read. Okay, let's go back to installing Docker. And the whole reason for that is I'm adding these packages to here, and when you hit enter and it goes to the beginning of the line, you want to hit tab and make sure that these are spaces and not have it be something else. Alright, let's make sure these can get all this. Okay, that was all good. Now let's put the Docker commands in here. This. And then this. I trust these commands. I've ran these so many times. And I should do echo docker install completed. And sometimes I do this too. Echo starting to install Docker. Just so there's a little bit more output when you're running all this on the terminal, especially as it gets longer and longer. Okay, the last thing I want to do is add user to group. This command here. And this is going to be, unfortunately, hard-coded right now to YouTube here. You need to change this to your user. If you run this, I'm not entirely sure if you run that with, I should try that. This group doesn't exist yet. I try to just hard code this. I'm not I'm guessing this works since it's documented here, but sometimes it worries me when you run this, it's escalating. Oh no, it's just using user mod. Okay. But the user running this is root. When you run this as, maybe it's not, but I just hard code this here. That's one thing I definitely do change depending on what's going on. Alright, let's run this and get Docker on the machine. And I'll check all this code into the GitHub page probably, and I'll link it in the description below. So don't worry if I'm going kind of quick around this stuff. Okay, now another thing, after I usually install Docker, I usually reboot the machine. Because it's just easier to get. It's a weird thing I usually do just to get Docker to start and access to that YouTube user access to the Docker stuff too. Sometimes I see like the terminals like, oh, it can't get it doesn't have access to the Docker service yet, which is annoying. I'm not sure if that happens anymore, so I just reboot it, and we should be back here. Load up a terminal, make it a little bit bigger. Maybe that's too big, but I don't mind. Docker PS. Yeah, so we have access to Docker. So that's pretty much that bootstrap script. We can even take one more look at it. I'm trying to think if I do anything else that's really necessary. Basically, bash script, make sure you run it with sudo or root. And then I run all these commands. Install these packages, run updates, install Docker. And now you have Python 3, and you have... The other thing I want to do is probably do Python pip that I didn't see here. So Python 3 pip. So that's another one. And maybe you can start. I don't really know what pip packages I'll use right away, but interesting that this already exists and is complaining. So this is a good example of always run your scripts multiple times because you don't know what they're going to do the next time. So this is complaining about the key share. And I mean, basically, I just Control-C out of that, and that worked through the rest of it. But I'll basically write a patch for that. So the way to do this is... Let's see this. So if we go to... Is there a source list here, too, for... There's a Docker. So if this file exists... So this is what we'll do. Bash check if file exists. File. Okay, let's bring up a new terminal. And instead of installing Docker every time, we're going to do this. We're going to know if we already installed Docker. actually want to do bash check if file does not exist. So just this. Oh, I need this whole thing. So that, then, and now let's move this all over. And we can do this. And we can do so that way I just completely scripted around installing Docker each time. And that's what you want to do with every script. You want to run it a lot and make sure. So there you go. Now you have no errors, and if it doesn't have Docker, it'll install it, and it's done. What else? So that's a pretty good example of a bootstrap script. It's about 40 lines long. Let's clean it up some. I usually do echo bootstrap.sh completed. And here I do echo bootstrap.sh started. So just a little bit more output as things run. And you can always build on this script. I mean, this can call other scripts, and I think that's one of the most powerful things why people run Linux. You can see how fast I have Python 3 here, a development environment. I guess I can do VS Code. I usually gonna maybe do VS Code manually and stick with Vim. You can see I use Vim most of the time too. I'm pretty good with it. I actually want to do more tutorials about Vim and how to use like key combinations and stuff in Vim. I'm not very good at Vim. In fact, I still use the arrow keys all the time in Vim. People would think I'm crazy knowing that, but I don't know. That's what I've gotten used to. Okay. So that's pretty much the helps if I can say it, bootstrap script. Okay. Those two things. It is now 9:31. Wow. So it took me less than 20 minutes to write that. Around 20 minutes. Because at 9:38 was 30 minutes. And I'll publish all this on the GitHub page. I probably will put it, I'll tell you right now, I probably will put it in the YouTube directory. I will create a new folder here called streams, and then probably organize them by date, and start putting the code I write, like this bootstrap code, in that repository if you need an example. Trying to think else if there's anything else I do for bash I really don't. Once you have this, you can write Python code. So while bash I think is an extremely powerful language, it immediately, in my opinion, gets in the way once you start to need to do something advanced in Python. Like even the syntax for an if statement, this isn't really like, I had to Google this. Like I don't remember this ever. But if you ask me to write an if statement in Python, I can do that in seconds. I know how to do that. It's a lot more human readable, I would say. So while bash has its place, I don't like to see very complex bash scripts ever. I think they have their place, and they need to be stupid simple like this. Once you start getting fancy in Bash, you start to have tons of problems. And I recommend that you use Python. And you can also go here to python.scheffner.com, and this shows an example of how to write a Python class. And this is very advanced, like this is kind of advanced programming stuff, but this completely, in my opinion, organizes logic 1,000 times better than a Bash script. And you already have Python now on the system. So like once you have Python, this code will all run. And most of the time Python is on systems by default. So and it's awesome to see 3.10 being, I know I mentioned this a bunch in the last video, but it's awesome to see 3.10 supported. Okay, that's pretty much the Bash bootstrap script. I've written probably a billion of these in my career. um, and I can do more tutorials on Bash if people want them. There's some other cool tricks I've learned over the years with Bash, but my knowledge is very limited in general when it comes to using it. So like as soon as I'm like, oh, I should think of like how should I do this, I just switch to Python. Python is such a better, in my opinion, a better language for expressing, ideas on how to like set stuff up and change things on a computer. Okay, probably gonna take a break.